Welcome, Tiny Hands, Big Dreams, here on the homestead.
We're told all the time that we should either cull our goat or that we can't plant fruit tree seeds.
Phooey.
Phooey.
Take your opinion and shove it up. So, there's some science involved, there's some personal opinion, there is some motivations. There's gambling. Who doesn't like a gamble? Little gamble.
Little.
We're not.
No.
We're not real gamblers.
We gamble with fruit trees.
We'll start with the goat. We have a goat, Sally. She is right now the only one in milk, and she's been giving milk for
a year.
A year on top of nursing a goat.
Yeah. So
every day, goat provides milk. Now she's a bit of a. She has attitude issues. That's not here or there. But she's a lovely goat, and she gives milk reliably, and she does pretty well about it.
And she makes super sweet, amazing babies.
She makes really cute little baby goats.
Yep.
Who don't have her attitude. Now, she has a detraction. I don't know what you call it. Anyway, so
disqualification, I have been told.
She has a disqualification from someone like the Cool Club.
I don't know what
it's the Cool
I don't
Goat
know
Club.
what it disqualifies her from.
She has her main two teats, and then two little trainer teats, as we call them.
They'll work. They produce.
They work. They're just like there's the big ones
small.
and there's the small ones. And this is it's a terrible thing, and it's an instant disqualifier from the Cool Goat Club.
I just had.
And you should cull the goat. We're like.
I had a spirited discussion.
I mean, I know
on the internet.
Some people that have like the occasional like weird deformity thing, and like that's not a reason to cull them.
Yeah, and then people will argue, well, I didn't really mean like cull doesn't mean kill. It just means like remove from your breeding program. I don't really buy it.
Do you have an entire side lot of all your less than desirables that you pay for food and things in space?
No, you just mean you're going to sell it. But regardless, why would I cull the goat that is actually the best producer I have? Now, I asked this on a goat group because I was tired of being told this. So like, I asked, I would like to know. Maybe there's something I don't know.
Maybe there's a biological reason. Okay.
So, it is what is it, like it's a disqualifying trait. It's a non-ideal trait. All of these things. I'm like, okay, why? Well, the kids it can confuse the nursing. They can struggle to nurse. I'm like,
hey,
I don't really understand that one. Okay, whatever. And then there's, what else did she say? She said that it could cause infections in the udder, which I don't understand why 2 more teats would cause a problem when the first 2 don't. So again, I don't see any science or logic behind that. And that it is just aesthetically undesirable in the goat world. Now, I don't care. Do you care what her udder looks like?
I didn't even know they were supposed to only have 2. So, like, it matters 0 to me. But the trainer teats, and I like calling them trainer teats, we had a tiny baby goat. She was like this big. She was super small. She's smaller than her mom because we bred her with a smaller male. We're smallerizing the goats a little. And she had this tiny little head. With
little face.
Tiny little face. And this giant teat.
She literally could not open her mouth.
So
big enough.
We would have had to bottle feed the little goat.
Which would have been a giant pain. Or
oh my gosh.
Super stressed that she
73
wasn't thriving.
times a day. Right. Instead, the little tiny goat used the little tiny teats for like a week or 2.
Yeah, about a week, and then she upgraded.
And then upgraded. And that's great. And she's moved on, and everybody's happy and swell, and they've thrived.
Yeah. Now, the other thing I saw was, people were like, well, you can't use a milking machine on them. It doesn't matter to me. I'm not going to use one. Never have, never will. So I don't really care. Yeah. And then they're like, well, it's bad for the breed. And which breed is our goat? Because she doesn't have she's close to maybe something familiar. Well, yeah, and that gets into crossbreeding goats, which I'm told is irresponsible.
It's a lot of fun. You should do it. We have 2 tiny little goats from different bucks, and they're both lovely and different in different ways. One of them is polled.
Yep.
Both of them only have 2 teats, so it's not like the terrible genetics even passed on. So why would we have culled the...
Yep. And I responded to this person on the group, but I said, so I think maybe it's a case by case basis. For whatever reason, if a goat or any other animal is just a poor mother, because it happens, but it happens in people too. Any creature can just be a poor mother for some reason. Then they should probably stop. I will no longer breed a goat or a pig or anything else if it's just not working.
We had bunnies for a while, and we played with bunny genetics, and we got amazing, crazy, cool bunnies out of doing all sorts of crosses. We got nothing good or interesting from the tried and true, known best genetic, like same type.
We just got terrible, honestly.
And those were like show winning like genetics. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the hybrid vigor, which is
Hybrid
true
vigor.
in both animals and plants.
So if you go and you buy the fancy commercial tomato seeds that people pay a ton of money for to plant out commercially, you have a big farm, you're going to get an F1 cross. I forget the two exact types, but an F1 means that is a cross between two tomatoes to get this third tomato, which is a cross between them. And it is made for shelf life and ease of harvest and productivity. It is not made for flavor, nutrition, anything else.
Anything else?
No. It is a horrible, terrible invention that puts those styrofoam grade tomatoes in the grocery store.
Yep.
Have they gone bad? No. Do they ever go bad? I don't know. Like,
not really.
No.
That's
so
fine.
But anyway, the hybrid vigor, and those first plants grow well. Now the next generation, you can't save those seeds. They won't. They'll go all over the place crazy. Is that a bad thing? Well, since the previous generation sucked, anything other than that is probably great.
Well, now, to be fair, those tomatoes didn't suck because they were hybrid. They sucked because they were specifically...
They were chosen to suck.
They were chosen to suck. So that's what's really important, is hybrids aren't bad. It's just like breeding animals. If you breed two really terrible animals with horrible characteristics, well, that end product's going to suck.
And that's what was chosen. They worked for many decades.
Very, very intentionally with the tomatoes.
To get that commercial tomato.
They did it with pigs, too, to get, like, the commodity pink pig we all know and not love.
With no fat, all muscle, the white meat
stupid
pig.
Fast.
Guess what? We don't like it. We grew up not liking pork.
No.
Thanks, pork industry, for convincing people that, people
the other white meat
wanted no fat, wanted bland. It's like chicken sometimes. It's so light.
Well, same with the Cornish cross. The Cornish cross.
Cornish cross. It is the most flavorless, fatless, uninteresting meat you can get.
But that wasn't an accident.
No, it was
Those
intentional.
were very, very intentional things. Not that they were positive intentional things, but you can hybridize, I think that's the right word, something intentionally.
Yes.
That could be amazing.
You can. Now, you get hybrid vigor. Anytime you cross a thing, you get hybrid vigor. The next generation actually grows stronger than the same things. And you get it with animals and plants. If you cross two exactly of the same breed of goat, you will get another of that same goat, but it will grow, but it will never be as fast growing or as strong or as healthy as a cross. With plants, again, it's the same thing. You can start a clone, and the clone will never be as strong as a seed, which was a cross. Because you get the seed vigor, you also get the hybrid vigor. So it's just a little better. You get a little bit of a bonus there. We did it with pigs. Mrs. Piggles will never win any sort of competition.
There's no beauty prize
except for our competition, and I give her a gold star. But that's because we have different motivations than the people who create the standards for such organizations and competitions.
Yep.
I don't want, if you go to like the state fairs and the market hogs that they raise and you look at them, there's not a scrap of fat on that pig.
They're dumb. Now, I love pigs. Pigs are very intelligent creatures. But the market hogs, the commodity breeds, they're dumb. They've lost so much of their natural intelligence along the way.
Bred for meat, period.
And then we have Mrs. Piggles, who is very, very intelligent. has quite the personality.
And we've had moments where her intelligence has surprised even us.
Oh yeah, she has absolutely communicated with me. Yeah.
We had a sick piglet, and it was going down. It had had a wound.
To understand, Mrs. Pickles does not like to be touched. While she is not aggressive, she is not a friendly pig.
She had maybe a rough youth. We got her at like 3 months. We don't know what happened to her, but she's wary of people.
Very, very, very wary. So she typically doesn't like us to interact with her. She was very against us being near her piglets, which is great.
She's very protective.
Fantastic mom. The piglet was going down. Like, it was just clearly not...
Had infection on the jaw.
It was not going well. And I went up and looked at the piglet, and I'm looking at her, and I'm like, she's going to kill me if I go in there. Like, this isn't going to go well. She turned around, she looked at me. She looked at the piglet. She looked at me. And she looked at the piglet. She knows the piglet. She looked at me. I'm like, do you want help, Mrs. Pickles? She looked at me. Okay. So I reached in and I took the piglet, and she let me. Okay.
And she turned around and she went back.
Yep.
And she laid back down.
She very much.
And the piglet started screaming and squealing, and she just... She could tell she didn't like it, but she allowed it.
Yeah.
She doesn't like taking food from our hands, so she'll look at us and she'll look at the ground. She'll look at us, look at the ground, look at us, look at the ground. So I put it on the ground, she's like, yeah, and then she eats it. She's a smart pig.
She's incredibly intelligent. She's an incredibly good mother.
She's never hurt a piglet.
She's very, very,
I mean,
very
these commercial
careful.
hogs you hear about where they just flop around the things, they're just
That was my
dumb.
biggest fear with raising pigs, because I've heard all the horror stories about the sows just flopping on the piglets. And no, she's
so careful.
But she also doesn't have all of her working teats. Like, she only has like 6.
Yeah, we know that there's a solid 6. Could be, it's hard to tell. There could be 7.
So for whatever reason, they don't all work.
And we're told that's a thing here where it's common where you have an unknown amount of teats to work. Sometimes it's 2.
Which I don't know why. I don't know why. It could be genetic. In the Criollo pigs, it could be something else. I don't know. So is that ideal? No. And I'm sure most people would say that she should not be part of your breeding program because she does not have the full set of working teats.
So our crosses, we have her, which is Criollo. She's a lot of fat. She's super efficient on food. She can just eat trees and be happy, and bugs. And then there's Wilby, who's a gianty, like, furry meat beast with a head the size of an elephant, who's a cross himself, but he's more of a meat kind of creature. Now, the crosses between the 2 of them are incredible. Is that a known breed thing? No. We had a whole litter of them. They were fantastic. They grew crazy fast. They were the perfect carcass. The ratio of meat to fat was excellent.
They're also just healthy.
They were so healthy. Every bit of it. Like, they were strong. They're healthy from their joints to their feet. They didn't have any problem stuff. They did really well. Have we exited the standardized, like, genetic thing? Yes.
But we also
Rebels.
We also rebel a bit against some of the standardized way of raising animals and of growing crops and doing all this. So the piglets, we were told they had to have iron.
Oh yeah,
Like,
must have iron. All piglets must have an iron shot.
I'm like, well, that doesn't make any sense, because there are wild pigs that don't. So that's silly. Like animals are in the wild as well, and they do fine. So what? We started doing research. Turns out, actually, piglets are born technically deficient in iron, because naturally, out in the mud, they're going to just root around with their little noses, and they're going to eat.
It may even
lot
be
of mud.
that they have a desire to eat to get the iron in their system.
Yeah, whichever way that goes.
So we did nothing. We didn't give them any shots. Things. They ate mud stuff. They grew up strong, healthy, fast. People were amazed how fast they grew.
Yeah.
Now we also, while we're feeding them, we also give them a ton of natural forage. The kid goes out and cuts. Usually I say chimp. And chimp is anything that happens with a tool that
Or fingers.
Fingers, a family colloquialism.
Yeah.
Or like a hand tool, anything that squeezes, cuts, something.
We just call it chimping.
Just go chimp some stuff.
No.
Side tangent. He goes out and he cuts a bunch of weeds and trees and things, and they munch on it, and they get all of that.
And as far as the piglets went, we did not choose to wean them. You know, you're supposed to wean them at a certain age. No.
It's not our job.
That's
the mama's job.
It's not.
At some point, mama was done.
As a mother, I'm like, you don't tell. Someone else is gonna come to. Not cool. Mrs. Pickles will figure it out. When she's done, she will make sure they stop. No doubt about that. So they nursed for 4 months. I mean, it petered off, but they were pretty big and only 2 fit at that point.
They grew fast and healthy on mama's milk.
So
why should we?
Why would we mess with nature as much as the very modernized homesteading and farming? You get into it's some of the standards of like the 4-H raising of pigs, and we took part in one of those auctions. It was strange. We watched one of those auctions. We were
some of the rules. You must
so naive. We needed. What was it? We needed it. We wanted to buy a pig. This was in Colorado.
Oh yeah, we'll just go to like the auction thing. We'll see.
I did not understand. Maybe
$4,000, $5,000.
What that entails.
This is not.
It's not about the animal.
This is people just giving money to kids. Okay,
yeah,
but then there's a thing. They must be this. They must be that. They must only be fed bagged food. We're we feed our pigs all sorts. We pick whatever fruit falls off the trees. There's fruit we don't know the name of.
Yes.
They love it. It's good for them.
Kitchen scraps.
Sure. Not for 4-H. So
that's just
you're teaching a very strange.
You're teaching commercial farming.
Not keeping.
I have my own personal issues with that. I think that 4-H in general is a good idea. I think the concept is very good. And
I think it got hijacked by commercial interests at some point. Let's talk about seeds. Let's talk about citrus. Citrus, it's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. And sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes it doesn't work out. Now, in Ecuador, where citrus grows wild, we have seen some crazy, weird citrus.
You look at it and you're like, I could taste that, but I don't know. Is it going to be sour? Is it going to be sweet?
There's this great poster.
Is it lime?
There's this great poster on citrus, and it shows the ranges and the colors to the size to the inside flesh to the flavors from grapefruit to lemons to oranges, mandarins. Like citrus has it. Citrus just goes sort of wherever genetically when you try to go from seed. Some of the ones I've gotten to wander around properties where citrus has been growing wild for I don't know how long. Oranges that are dark green. You're like, man, when are those going to be ripe? And the guy picks one, he hands it to me. I open it up, and it's this beautiful, deep orange inside. It is sweet and delicious. Yeah, that was quite
the lesson to learn.
You're like, wait, what?
I thought they had to be orange.
And then there's also what they call sour oranges.
Agria.
Now, sour oranges taste like an orange, but with the acidity of a lemon. They're sweet
fun.
to it.
I like them.
But if you mix it into a sweet beverage, ooh,
like sugarcane juice.
Holy cow! Oh man, does it work out?
And just
so well.
Complexity of flavors that I never knew existed in citrus.
Yeah,
I just grew up, I guess, with very bland citrus options in the U.S.
So there's
no idea.
And all of a sudden, when you have this as like raw ingredients, you're like, so culinarily, you can go in interesting and new directions. You're like, oh, I'm going to take this, I'm going to make a glaze, I'm going to think of something. It opens up a lot of possibilities because you didn't stick to the known standards. So
the known standards, I'm not big on known standards. I once had a job where...
Oh, here it comes.
There's so many stories. Where the owner, it was a cafe, and the owner said that his goal was to be like McDonald's.
He didn't say this up front. He said this like after she'd worked there a while.
Oh, yeah. And I went, well...
Thought you're being like interesting and cool and having delicious and nutritious stuff.
No,
and,
he wanted to be very consistent.
Now.
Consistent.
Consistent can be a bad word.
It can be a very bad word.
When you talk about let's Starbucks. Okay, I'm going to poop on Starbucks for a minute.
Oh yeah.
In the coffee world, we are really big on coffee. Absolutely world-class, delicious coffee. You've never had some of the coffee we've drank. We go off on that rabbit hole really deep. At some point, we're going to start selling it, but it's a labor of love. Now, Starbucks has to be consistent with their coffee. So how do you take a natural product grown in different places and make it consistent? The short answer is you process the crap out of it, you burn it.
And then you put so much sugar with it that nobody cares what the coffee is anyway.
Right. And then it's this origin or it's that origin. You blend it. You blend a ton of it together so that it blows out any taste of the particular place, the harvest, the year, the thing. And then you roast it so the roast notes overtake the actual coffee and you have a consistent product. And on a 0 to 10 scale, you're never going to get above a 6, just period.
And if you are focused on consistency, you're probably going to end up with something average.
Yeah. So when we do coffee, every micro lot is its own lot. When I get a bag of coffee from somebody, it might be 20 pounds. That 20 pounds will only ever be the same as that 20 pounds. And the next batch from the same guy on the same mountain will be different. Mm-hmm. No, not terribly different, but the weather's different. Different things happen.
It could honestly just be like the next few rows over. And that might be slightly different. The soil might be ever so slightly different.
Yeah, top of the hill versus the bottom of the hill. And is it incredible? Sometimes, yes. It is absolutely breathtakingly delicious.
And sometimes, honestly,
but
it's not as
different than the other one. It has slightly different notes and overtones and things, and you sit there and you savor it. I wouldn't trade that for consistency for anything. Now, do I want to get back some of those flavors? I mean, sure. But there's no way to realistically do that without destroying what the coffee actually is.
Yeah.
You have to value it for itself. Avocados.
Oh, my avocados.
They
I'm
are
so
doing
excited.
great. Do you know you can just take an avocado seed from an avocado you eat and put it in
a lot of.
And you don't have to do the thing with the toothpicks and the water glass.
I wanted to grow the avocados from seed. So I took to the YouTube. And I'm like,
how do I do this?
I only know the water glass thing, and I don't understand why that's
seems weird.
What you do.
Water goes funky.
Same with sweet potatoes. I guess this came from the fact that I don't grow sweet potato slips in a glass of water because it goes funky and rots. So I started doing it in soil or just leaving out sweet potato. So I searched, how to plant them, and I came across, I don't remember his channel. I put it up on the screen with magic. Where he did a proper test of doing one in the traditional waterway and then one straight in soil. And yes, the one in water grew faster, and then the one in soil overtook it and just took off.
Yeah, grown in water, you get water roots.
Yes.
And then you're putting water roots in soil, and they'll probably die and have to regrow those roots anyway. And then there's damage. If you just start it in soil, and it saves a whole step, and it's great.
So I take every single avocado pit, and we eat over a dozen a week easily.
Yeah. They're 3 for $1. That's our $4 a week, guilty, delicious habit.
I don't feel guilty.
No.
Have
them with breakfast, have them on tacos, have them with things, have them on a sandwich.
So I've been planting them all. Now, does that mean we're going to get perfect true to type avocados off a tree in 5-10 years? No. There's going to be a good portion of them.
Genetic diversity.
Either don't produce fruit, produce inedible fruit, produce really gross fruit. Some might produce something good, and there might be a few that are fantastic.
Let me see if I can find, there's a poster from the Hawaii Avocado Research Station.
Which is a cool thing that exists.
These are just the ones they are testing, and it's this huge poster, and it's all these different types, from giant ones to small ones, different colored flesh. Wow, I want to eat them all. There was even one we were in Maui, and there was one in a store, and it was the size of a coconut. I wanted it so bad. And
here we found some that looked like little pickles, and they had no seed in them.
We did a short.
Yeah.
If you look up our shorts, there's one where these they're like gherkins.
And they don't have an actual pit in them. So clearly those were started from seed, or they just appeared on someone's land from seed.
The difference is we're going to end up with really strong rootstocks grown from seed in soil. And if the plant is healthy, that's the first thing. Now, if it fruits good or not, That's the second thing. Now we have options. Either A, we could keep that and decide that it's an acceptable fruit. B, we could cut off the branches and top work it and graft on a different one. So if we had one tree that produced good fruit, we could continue to trim branches and graft on to good rootstock.
Now, we did buy a couple avocados that were grafted. They big, and they both pretty much. Well, one completely died, and one is just sort of. Now, why? Anybody's guess.
Anybody's guess.
I tend to believe that anything grown one place and moved somewhere else is less likely to do well.
It didn't start in this soil to develop what it needed to grow here. So the ones that were growing here in pots, they're already this big in like what, 2 months?
Yeah, something like that. They're growing really well. They're healthy.
If you wonder why it's raining in a lot of our videos, it's not that it rains all the time here. The cicadas are quiet. We have cicadas, and the microphone picks them up before us, and it's ear-piercingly bad on the video. So we video a lot.
We choose rainy times.
We choose rainy times to do videos.
We can't be outside working, and the cicadas are otherwise terrible, so it works out. So the other thing, kind of on a related subject, saving seeds. I'm big on seed saving.
Yep.
And you get into the whole discussions of you can't. Here's that can't again.
People say
you can't save seeds from, say, tomatoes, peppers. I mean, those are the two that I am more interested in saving seeds from. You can't save the seeds unless you only grow one type, or you do the fancy like bagging of the flowers and all of that so that they stay true to type. So you can get into the hybrid vigor and the fact that you may end up with the most amazing tomato you've ever had from whatever crosses in your garden. There is also something maybe more important. If it produces food, I'm happy.
If it came from a seed from your ground, that seed is more accustomed to your area ground than the previous seed.
Yes.
My great-grandmother kept tomatoes her whole life. And there was a small, this was in Pennsylvania, it was just a regular little lot, 1/8 of an acre kind of thing. So there's a lot of neighbors, a lot of people had little gardens. She grew her tomatoes from seeds from the previous year every year, beefsteaks. Did they vary slightly year to year? Yeah, other people grew different things. We had no idea. Could they have cross-pollinated? Probably. Were they still beefsteaks 30-some years later, like when she stopped? Yeah, they were still beefsteak tomatoes, and they were still delicious. You can save them. Now, I wouldn't save them from your commercial tomato because they're garbage. But if you buy some fancy heirloom tomatoes,
or you have some seeds, and you want to just keep those going,
try them again and again and again and again. They're fine. And if you don't like them, then don't keep them for the next year.
Keep that going. But there are so many people who I see, and it's a whole self-sustainability problem. Always buying seeds. Like, I grow all my own food, but you're buying all of your seeds.
And it is a wonderful activity for children to teach them that you can take the thing, pick out the seeds, dry them, clean them, put them in a little bag, be excited next year when the spring's coming and put them in dirt, watch them pop up, put them in the garden. Children love it. Everybody should do that.
It's true. It's not hard. And it keeps those costs down because honestly, seeds are expensive. And they've only gotten more expensive.
And they may not be what you asked for.
Well, then you're just at the whims of seed companies, which I don't ever want to be at the whims of them again.
So last year
several years ago.
A couple years ago was what did they call that? Like Seedgate or Seedmageddon?
Oh, that, yeah. I guess it was last year.
Nothing. We got stuck with it too a couple years ago. Where we were like, we sent out the daikon radish.
Yeah, okay, so I got daikon radish seeds, which are the big white radishes. They're huge. I plant them, I'm all excited, and I'm like,
dirt apples.
Small and pink dirt apples. That was not what I wanted. And they finally ended up sending out an email saying, they didn't perform as expected. You mean they were the wrong thing?
Completely and totally flipping wrong. And then the next year it was even bigger. It was a thing where so many people bought them from a store, from a thing, a seed company.
Oh man, I've seen that on a lot.
And they're just like, this is not what I bought and planted.
Like completely the wrong thing.
So, keep your own seeds.
Yeah.
They're probably going to be better off.
And honestly, like you may end up stumbling across an amazing, say, tomato that is just exactly what you've always wanted, and it grows really well in your soil, and it's resistant to whatever things you have. That's my hope, is eventually.
There's the story of the lemons in Russia.
Yeah.
Which I might have talked about before, and how they have to have lemon for their tea. Fine. They don't grow in Russia. Problem. So they started by taking the best cold varieties and moving them to where they would grow, and then the seeds from those, they kept marching them like, so many kilometers north, and pushing to where then only the ones that would grow would be the ones they take for the next one. And they were able to actually change the climate to where the lemons would grow. Yeah, you can do that.
Yeah.
So the more you grow it in your soil, if you get seeds, you're in New York and you get seeds that came out of like South Carolina, where, wherever that farm was, that's a different climate.
It's true.
It's not maybe ideal for you. So a lot of people say get local seeds.
Honestly, I've had better luck so far with saving seeds from local fruits and vegetables.
Yeah.
The best peppers have come from, I literally am just making hot sauce and I save the peppers. It doesn't go well usually when I save the seeds from hot peppers, but
it's a different story.
That's a different story. But those are just like, every single one germinated and they grow really well and they do fantastic because they were local seeds.
It's like 100% germination rate and they're all strong.
So that has to say something.
Yep.
And I don't think they're true to type.
No, at some point we will maybe do a video on the greatest hot sauce ever. That has been a work in progress for a long time. So if you like this, subscribe. We'll do more. We'll talk about some other stuff. Hopefully it's interesting to you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you later.